I got the knee all set up, cleaned, lubricated, and I just want to talk about the adjustment. The gib is over here. The best way to adjust it is to take a screwdriver. A longer one is a little bit easier. Get in here, turn it, move the handle. What we're looking for here is we're looking for as minimal play on the indicator as possible without allowing this to be too difficult to move. So what I basically have is I have it set up here. I'll move it over to roughly 0. And then I have about a 4-foot bar going through the knee. And I'm just going to pull up on the knee and see if we have any movement. Looks like basically nothing. I can't even see the thing move. So I'm going to leave the adjustment right here for now because it is easy to move up and down. It is a little bit stiffer, just a hair more than it was before, but I'm very happy with the adjustment. It's really easy to adjust if I change my mind. All I have to do is remove this way cover. I'd rather have it a little on the tighter side, knowing that it's going to be properly lubricated now, and just to eliminate any play. And it seems to work great all throughout the range. It doesn't seem to be too stiff, and obviously I'm not getting any movement. So I'll have to check to see what the specs were before, but we're pretty much down to 0 movement now, which I'm pretty happy with. All right, guys, I'm pretty excited. I've had this box sitting around for a long time, and we're finally going to get into it. Hopefully there's no issues here because I've been holding on to this for quite a while, but I don't think there will be. So this is a Newall, I think it's a DP500 or whatever the newer version of that is. We have the digital readout. This is the exact same one I'm using on the lathe. I did that for a very specific reason, and that reason is that each DRO has its nuances, and I would have liked to minimize me having to learn how to use like 6 DROs and 6 different machines. I like the one, it's very simple. What I like about it is the cheaper DROs, like the one I have on there now. You can kind of see where all the zeros are, and it's kind of distracting. This one has a nicer LCD display, and it's very simple to read, very easy to use. It's very intuitive, it's black, it looks good, and I just like it. So I'm not going to do a full install of this. There's plenty of installs online, and frankly it's very tedious, but I just wanted to show you we got it. I'm going to get it installed, and I'll bring you back at the end once it's all installed. All right, next we're going to install the way covers on this machine. Before you install any felt way covers, you always want to prime these felt pieces. That way they're not on there dry. I'm going to be very liberal here. All right. And I like to make sure that when I'm installing these, I kind of press over so that I make sure that the way covers are pushing into the way, and they're not just sitting there. Very subtle, but it's the little things that make a difference. All right, in this one I'm just going to set in here first. And same thing, I'm just going to put a little bit of back pressure and a little bit of sideways pressure just to make sure that's really sweeping on them. And then I'll get you in close. What I like to see when I install a way cover is when I operate the machine, I like to see it just wipe a thin film of oil. So we're going to see if that's the case. It's a little hard to tell if I'm being honest. All right, we're going to go ahead and install these chip covers. I'm just going to lubricate this area here with some way oil. Make sure you don't put these in backwards. The way that you know they're forward is they should line up in the front like that. We'll put the bottom one on first, and then I'm going to lubricate in between. There we go. That's sliding real nice. And then we'll lubricate this guy. There we go. That's how it should be, nice and easy. All right, the next step over here is to put the saddle on. Just gonna gently move it on to these ways. I went ahead and lubricated the ways, and then, look at that, it feels real nice. Look at that, really like that. Just gonna get a little bit more in the front. I am kind of curious if these chrome ways are a little bit more frictionless than regular ways. That might help aid in performance. It's a little bit, binds a little bit more at the front. Could be nothing, but I'm just checking it while I got it on. You know, there's a little burr here that I didn't think was doing anything, but I'm gonna address that. All right, I just lightly stoned the ends here. There might have been a couple burrs there from some nicks. It's sliding a little bit better now, which is good. All right, we're gonna get the oiling system hooked up on the side, drop in the T-nut, and should be good to go and test the oiling system. All right, so we got a fair amount of extra there. I'm gonna chop that down. All right, the next part is to drop this nut carrier in. I originally thought that I wanted to install these nuts first just to make it easier on me, but don't do that. You really have to install them after the fact. Make sure your lubrication tube is dropped into the bottom one. You're gonna put it in and twist. And there she is. We'll go ahead and put our 4 bolts in. I'll leave a little bit of room here. I'll zip tie that. That's tight. We have our last hose here. It's going to come over here. So I'll get that trimmed. And I'll bend a little 90 degree on it. All right, we were able to get the nut carrier bolted down and I got the oiling system finished up. I just had to do a couple of tweaks with the oiling system to make sure I was getting oil flow everywhere, and I am. That's very important. You want to make sure you have good, proper oil flow, and we do, so that's great. Next, I'm going to move around to the front. We'll install the gib and then adjust this for the right amount of play so we can have it nice and tight, but not too tight so it can move. We'll go ahead and get this gib oiled up. And inserted. We'll take this screw and get the gib installed. I'm going to go until I stop, till it seats out. That's about it. I'm going to back it off a little bit. We'll measure this but I'm gonna just move this. That feels good right there. I'll tighten it until I can't and then back it off, and then we'll get a bar on this and measure the movement. Let's try that. Still moves, okay. Try that. Still moves, all right. Still moves. Pretty tight. Too tight to come forward, that's for sure. All right, so it's definitely worn a little bit in the middle. Let's get a bar on it and see where we're at. All right, now this measurement's gonna be a little bit hard to trust because I'm gonna try to torque on here sideways without actually moving it back and forth, which I think will be a little bit difficult, but we'll try. So right there, I don't think I'm getting anything, and this makes a little bit of sense because I feel like it's a little too tight. So far we've got no movement. Can slide if I push it a little bit, but I think it's a little too tight. If I'm being honest, this adjustment is probably better made when everything's in place and we have a little more downward weight. Honestly, I think the best way to adjust this is probably by feel, at least in this position, and then come back and tweak it. Feels good. Feels like impossibly tight right there. Won't even make it past that point. So we definitely have some wear. Let me see how loose I have to run it to be able to get to the end. That's better, but that's pretty tight. Well, it seems like it's gonna stop right there anyway. Definitely some movement in the middle. All right, let's just see dead middle. Right there, it moves easily. Now once we have the screws on here, that has a lot more mechanical advantage, so we don't need to move it. It can be a little stiffer. I'm just kind of curious. I'm gonna guess like 5 thousandths. That's my guess. But we'll see. All right, got it tightened up. I got my bar over here. Showing nothing. Oh, there was something. Yeah, there has to be something there. The reading is a little bit hard to trust. I can tell it's a lot looser. So what I need to do is I need to figure out the compromise between being able to get it all the way to the end and having it nice and tight. So I'm gonna work with that for a minute and I'll bring you back. All right guys, we got this all dialed in. Moves nice and smoothly. Gets stuck right about here, maybe a ½ inch from the end of the travel. I'm totally fine with that. This actually doesn't come all the way to the end, it stops right around here. Plus we have the way wipers here. There's no need to worry about that. And then in the back it goes and then gets stiff right about here. It will go a little bit farther, but it's actually not gonna go that far anyway because we have the DRO back there. So it's a little bit stiff right on the ends, but I'm not gonna try to get it any looser because I want it to be tight in the middle. We'll get it together and see how much play we have in the middle. But based on my preliminary test, having the indicator over here, I was getting about a ½ thousandths movement, but right now it's real slippery, so I also don't want to be too concerned because it may be moving backwards when I torque on it. So as of right now, I'm really happy with it. We'll get the rest of this together and come back and double check it and see how we're doing. All right, we're gonna go ahead and install this feed rod in the bottom. You want to make sure if you're using split nuts that you have a gap between them. It's about 1/4 inch, 200 thousandths, and then we'll be able to stick this right in. You'll want to line up the keyways. Then we're going to go ahead and install our screws. You're going to want to use a long screwdriver. Magnetic is best. I just have a magnet on the end of this flathead, so you can reach in here. There we go. And then we got the securing screw. Same thing, I'll stick it on the end, bring my magnet up here. Nice, thanks to my magnet, I didn't lose both of those, so that's great. Now I'm gonna check for the backlash. There's really nothing, basically. I mean, there's like nothing. But I'm just gonna tighten this screw. All right, that's too tight. So I'm gonna back it off so I can operate this. And just really dial it in. All right, we're set there. All right, while we're over here in the front, I'm gonna go ahead and install these way wipers. Just get these guys lubed up very liberally. Oh, also, some of you guys can tell me in the comments, my kit included 6 of these. It included 4 of these, 2 for the back, and just 1 of these. So I'm not really sure if, you know, I'm supposed to use these or this, but I only got 1 of these, so not exactly sure what that's about. But we got this set up here. Got some flathead screws. You know what I don't like? I don't like how there's not a gap, how there's a gap in the middle. I don't like that. Because the screw's got to go there. It indents inward, and I don't like that. I guess I could take those guys, and that's kind of weird. But I could do that. Take our little screw pop outs and stick them there. That way when I draw the screw in, at least it's not bowing inward. Take this guy, pop it here. Now we do have an accordion way cover kit. We might put that on next. I'm gonna just push this over as much as I can. There we go. Snug that bad boy down. Same thing in the middle. There we go. Since we got that in there, now we got a consistent line across the front. There's got to be other people out there that are bothered by that. All right, and we're going to repeat the same process on the back. All right, here's a little trick. I was supposed to put this on first, but guess what? I forgot, and I'm not going to take this whole thing apart. So I'm calling it a trick. I hope it works. We'll see. I went ahead and raised this up as high as I could. And I think if I remove this way wiper over here, the cover at least, I'm going to be able to shimmy this on without having to take off the whole back part again. Come on, baby, come on. Oh, look at that, look at that. There's a little trick for you. That's relieving. Thought I was going to have to pull that whole thing apart. All right, we're going to install some way covers. First, remove this screw, or loosen it actually, I think, if I remember right. I'm going to slide this down over that screw. Then we're going to tighten this guy back up. Then we'll drop the top on this. Going to install these screws here. Get them all in loose, and then come back and tighten them. Actually, you know, I'm going to loosen this. So we have some room here. And I don't want to cock it. There we go. Now that they're all started, I'll tighten this back up. Push this back. Tighten that down, all right. Now I'm going to actually remove the screws down here. And I'm going to install these provided screws instead. Leaving about a ½ inch from the top. All right. I'm going to do a final wipe down back here. Make sure there's no debris back here. And then just a little oil. I'm going to loosen the screws on this rear way wiper. Drop this guy down. All right, let's see. Okay, that seems pretty secure. Now I'm going to hook the back here. There's just some little rubbers over here. Hook those onto these screws. You want to be careful, this kit is a little bit sharp. All right. And then bring this guy up and hook it on here. Just like that. Perfect. Should keep the chips off there. Very nice. All right, guys, I am super happy with the way this is going down. The weight covers are on. They're really, really nice. On the side here, it has great coverage to keep chips away. Since we did new bushings, did all the proper lubrication, this thing spins super smooth, almost too smooth. I thought I was a little tight on the adjustment. I wasn't getting any movement, but this thing moves beautifully. That's probably as a result of actually being lubricated and being chrome ways and all the little things. But man, it is running really nice. I don't think it's ever run this nice, not even close. So that is really, really nice. You can just kind of see it has just the right amount of resistance. You know, I can spin it for a little bit, but it's, you know, not overly loose. It seems perfect. The backlash, which I'll show you a close-up, seems to be about 2.5 thousandths. I could not be any happier. Now, this axis was the least worn, so once we get the table on here and the weight, I'm curious to see how this changes, see if it becomes more stiff with the weight, but as of right now, man, it is operating great. So the next step here is I'm going to throw the cross screw in, and then we'll get the table on and we'll go from there. All right, we're going to install this feed screw. Now there's two sides here. There's one with a larger land, one with a smaller land. The smaller land goes over on the right side. The bigger land is for the left because there's a bigger bearing block there. We're going to slide this screw in. We'll see how it works. I might have to modify or hold down my lines here for my oil pump. We'll just see, and we'll slide this in, and we want to leave a gap just like we did on the other one. Yep, they are touching, so we'll need to address that. I don't want my lead screw to rub on my oil lines. Then we'll come over to this side and pull it back. There she is, bottomed out. All right, we'll come in here with our holding screw. We'll call it our backlash eliminator. All right, a little too tight. If I back it out, I'm just gonna wiggle it, because if I don't, that screw is just gonna be loose, but it wouldn't have moved on me. This might be good. Yeah, see, I'm out of balance here because I'm uneven. With the table on, we're probably gonna be in a better situation to adjust this because the shaft will be supported. We'll finish the adjustment on that once we get the table on. It might be a little bit hard to see, but I just wanted to show you this modification here. I added this bracket that I made to kind of push my lines down. I have about a finger's worth of clearance in here. That should be more than enough, but I tried to do a zip tie and it just wasn't gonna work. So I just made that custom bracket. I'm sure other people are gonna run into a similar issue if they're reusing the factory holes on the mills that came with an oiling system. A lot of the videos just show these lines coming around, and it would probably be fine in that case, but I really wanted to use these factory holes because I think it's a lot cleaner. So this is just the solution that I came up with. It really gives you a lot of clearance there. Got our cart over here lined up. I'm gonna add some lubrication. You know what, I'm just gonna lubricate it. On my cart. There she is. Get this guy lubricated. All right, I'm excited to get this new lock installed. Make sure we get that pin in there. And then here comes our lock. All right. Soft jaw pliers here. Nice and tight. And then I'll hit that set screw. Look at that, feels really nice. I really like it. One thing I didn't take into account is that the added weight here makes it want to come down probably more than the other one, but other than that, this should be fine. All right, we got a broken handle here for the traverse of this head. We need to get this guy fixed. I broke it off not knowing that you needed to loosen these. You live and you learn, so we're gonna get that repaired. All right, guys, we got a new handle made. It turned out wonderful. I made it out of stainless. A little bit overkill here, but I just figured why not? Fits with the design of everything else. I put a red handle on here, or knob rather. Just thought it'd be kind of weird, kind of look cool. And then polished this up. Turned out great, got it fixed, so we'll mark that off the list. All right, guys, we got everything finished up, and I'm really happy with how everything turned out. As you can see, not only did we get the mill cleaned up, the area around the mill cleaned up, but we also dialed everything in and made a bunch of upgrades as well. So let me just go back to our list and see how we did. So for the Y travel on the table, before we had 2 thousandths on the ends and 5 thousandths in the middle. We got that down to about a 1/10 on the end and 2/10 in the middle, and I'll throw the B-roll in so you can see me taking those measurements. On the X, the saddle over here, looks like before we were at 4 thousandths on the ends and 4.5 thousandths in the middle. We got that down to about 1 on the ends and maybe about 2.2 in the middle. That's probably where most of the wear on this mill is. And then in the Z travel, or the knee, we had about 1.2 thousandths in the middle, and it was about the same on the ends, and I couldn't get the dial to move at all. So I would say we did an excellent job with that. Going through some of the known issues, the oiling system, you saw we went ahead and took that apart. We installed a new Bridgeport pump and just went through the whole machine. Everything is working properly. It's gliding nice and smooth. The knee lock is broken. You guys see me make a new one of those on the lathe. We got a nice stainless steel knob and everything's working great there. It locks now, it looks good, feels good, which is great. We had some backlash in the Y. It was really bad. It was like 70 thousandths. There is almost no backlash now in the nuts, maybe 2 thousandths. And the handle itself, you know, it doesn't even move when I put a little bit of pressure on it. So 2 thousandths worst case scenario, it's probably a little bit less than that, which is great. And then the backlash down here, it has about 4 thousandths. You can see I'm moving it now. Nowhere near that bad. The screw wasn't worn that much, but we replaced the nut. And I don't remember what it was before, but it might have been like 10 or something. So I think we cut it in half. I'm totally fine with that. We could probably get that down by replacing the shaft, but we don't need to replace the shaft. It wasn't too worn. And you did see me do a shaft replacement on the upper one because it was so worn. The rocking base, so I was gonna put it directly on the ground and bolt it to the ground because I wanted it to be nice and stable. But when I did that, the mill was too low. At least it was for me. So I went ahead and put it back on the base, but I made some modifications to the base. I actually added 6 leveling feet and some additional plates underneath the pallet that I made. It's made out of metal, and I bolted the Bridgeport down to the pallet itself and then leveled the base. So now we don't have any rocking there. And then we have a broken knob on the side, which I'll show you some B-roll of that to adjust the head in and out. And we went ahead and replaced that as well and made a new handle. I also made a new handle up here in the front because the old one was kind of loose. And we added a new vise, DRO, quill DRO, automatic tool changer, vise stop, side tray, servo power feeds, way covers. I added an air gun with an air gun holder. Yeah, pretty much did the full 9 yards on this guy. I want it to be up and running, ready to go, and I want to be able to use it accurately so that I can make some cool parts and we can put it to work. So at some point in the future, maybe we will do a full restoration on it. But if I'm being honest, although that probably will happen, the machine is operating as good as I can expect it for the age. It really is operating well. I'm really happy with it, and I'm really looking forward to do some test cuts, specifically with that large fly cutter, to see if the adjustments that we made to this mill are going to give us much better results. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments. If you guys got any questions, please put them down below, and we'll see you in the next one.